This is a film study focused on Leonard Williams, the 31-year-old hybrid defensive tackle, defensive end for the Seahawks, who had 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits, and a handful of violent plays in short yardage situations against the Titans. Seattle kind of played with their food a little bit and only was able to pull out a 30-24 win. Nonetheless, they had 20-point leads on 2 occasions in the second half. I'm going to show you a little bit of film of Leonard Williams' contribution, talk about perhaps his WWF-inspired celebration, and then at the end show you a play that looks interesting to me. I wonder what happens next after Jeffrey Simmons and Leonard Williams make it look like they're going to square off for a moment. Titans, of course, had a long first possession here, make it down inside Seattle's red zone, and I think settle for a field goal. This is first possession, 2nd and 9. We'll generally have Leonard Williams spot shadowed in yellow. This blue line, if you're new to my content, generally indicates where the field and boundary is. In this case, the boundary or the short side of the field is to the bottom of our screen, and the field or the wide side is to the top. It's going to be basically a halted rush by Leonard Williams. I think they're just in a contain mode down here to the right-hand side of the quarterback. In addition to that, Uchenna Nwosu played fantastic in coverage at times this game, in my opinion. And in this case, he ends up locked up on the tight end and or running back as they release for what could initially look like a one-man screen where the tight end releases to the flats, and then you throw the football to the running back a little bit there at or behind him. That's not actually the scheme that occurs here, number one. Number two, Leonard Williams gets to a certain depth and then it just stops. I think it's because Cam Ward obviously is very athletic, number one. Number two, he's a right-handed quarterback, and I think on this particular scheme, they didn't want to allow him to escape to his throwing hand. At a certain point, however, Leonard Williams recognizes, okay, I've got to go after the quarterback. I can't sit here this long. Just like a quarterback has an internal clock, I think defensive linemen do as well. It's a great job by, it's DeMarcus Lawrence from the backside, who for a moment isn't even rushing, and you will get the end zone angle of this one. He gets his hands on Ward, who makes, man, this is just an amazing play. You really don't get a great angle view of it from the All-22 here, but he flips it out to Chig Okonkwo, the Maryland product, while being tackled by Lawrence. You just have to give the young guy credit for standing up against this Seattle defense with all the jackals they put out on the field consistently. In this case, he's able to find Okonkwo for, I think, an 11-yard gain. Here's Williams. He's not the edge defender by alignment here. By alignment, it's Nwosu, but once again, Nwosu is reading the tight end running back combo, and since both of those guys are going to flash to the flats, try to cross his face, he expands with them, number one. Number two, Leonard Williams, like I said, gets to a stop point and then puts his cleats in the ground, holds on. I think Ward got through some of his reads quick in this game. I think he's gotten to his second, maybe his even third read. I think he's starting right to left. So, maybe 1 off screen and then 2, perhaps 3. Again, I'm not drawing on a particular player. I'm just illustrating that it's a right to left read. He's at least on the second read, if not the third. Williams decides to go upfield because he thinks someone else is going to get pressure up the middle. It happens a little bit too late in the case of Lawrence and Drake Thomas, and then Ward while he's falling down. I mean, that's why he was the number 1 pick, right? That's one of the types of plays that Tennessee drafted him to make, and it had to be frustrating as a Seahawks fan to see it. Hopefully at this point you can at least appreciate it like I can. The guy is out there facing one of the best defenses in the league, and just a brilliant example of A, his playmaking skills, but B, the reason why Leonard Williams was holding that depth and not attacking until he saw that, it was just taking too long for everyone else to get there. Another scramble situation on the first possession, oftentimes bringing, 4-man rush schemes, which Seattle relies upon, can give an athletic quarterback a window or a lane to get through. In this case, I think you got a poor job on the other side by Derek Hall. Basically, he's going to dive inside. His rush is not synced up with this inside move by Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams is so violent. He's like a freight train, in this case, trying to split the double team. And because of Hall's inside rush, there's just no contain on the opposite side, number one. Number two, Williams' feet and lower body kind of collide with the left guard a little bit. You can see here is a Derek Hall inside rush path for whatever reason, and that is exactly where Cam Ward decides to escape. Just poor rush discipline in that instance, if you ask me, by Derek Hall. I doubt very seriously that the idea behind the rush, it was a 5-man scheme, was to give up the edge totally and let Cam Ward escape. Now, fortunately for the Seahawks, they got great pursuit. It's a 2nd and 5, and he gets out of here and only gets 4 yards. Still on the first possession, and we've got the first chance to take a look at what I think is one of the best short yardage groups and schemes in the entire NFL. I did a video on it last week if you're a Seahawks fan. And you didn't check it out, I'll link it up in the description and at the end of the video. And it focuses on the short yardage / goal line look that Mike McDonald and Aiden Durday are putting out there. Basically, it relies upon defensive ends in a 4-eye, which is inside shade of the tackle, swimming to the outside. And I think Tennessee had a really nice game plan to try to attack it. Generally, it was power. In this case, it's a 3rd and 1 power concept with the backside guard pulling, the fullback who is a 6th offensive lineman, so you got a lot of size and weight there, and then the running back downhill off of that path, oftentimes beginning on the midline and possibly veering it to the outside. How special is Leonard Williams? He's the backside 4-eye swimming over the left tackle, and he's still going to be able to make the tackle. Now, it's still a 3-yard gain. Tennessee gets the first down, so you can say that it's not productive if you want to. I was kind of shocked last week. I did the video about the Seahawks defense against the Rams, and so many people were like, this was not a quality defensive effort. I mean, they held the Rams to 272 yards. This past week, they gave up 24 points to Tennessee, so I'm real interested to see what the feedback is here talking about Leonard Williams. I think he played an exceptional football game. He's got one of the best swim moves in the NFL, probably on par with Chris Jones and a few others. This is a different angle view of the same play concept for you. Like I said, it's 3rd and 1 on the first possession. It is a successful power concept where the backside guard is pulling and wrapping for the frontside inside linebacker. There's a lot going on. In my opinion, this is a really nice idea by Tennessee to try to kick out the edge defender, but then they adapted the power concept during the course of the game. In any case, you can see Williams clean swim over the top of the left guard who's looking for him now, does go down as a 3-yard gain, still makes the tackle, gives you an idea of the athleticism and the ability to resist in these short yardage situations. Credit to the Titans, in my opinion, for coming in with a nice strategy there. Seattle was still able to get, more than their fair share of stops in these situations. Moving on to the second defensive possession, it's a 3-3 tie here. Leonard Williams spot shadowed in yellow, like I said, with the ball in the middle of the field. He's going to hold up really well against a double team / combo from Zeitler, and I believe it's Latham, the right tackle. Really nice fill by 52, who laid some shots, not just on Cam Ward, but on running backs as well. So you get a combo / double team here, combo / double team here, and then a Manwari on the blitz is going tight to the wall. So basically, as the tackle steps down, 55, a Manwari is going tight to that wall off of the right tackle. Prochet, the wide receiver who used to play for the Ravens, kind of tripped over someone's feet. I think it's right here. And as a result, ends up tipping, nose over toes, losing control, going low on a Manwari. That's where the penalty is here. Called it a chop block because a Manwari was engaged. What I like about this from a Leonard Williams standpoint is he holds his ground. So we would always look at guys on double teams. Where were their cleats at the beginning of the play? And where do their cleats end up during the play and at the end? So let's take a look at Leonard Williams. I only have the end zone angle for this one, but his cleats are right here on the yard line, nice and clean for us to see. Double initiation by the right guard and right tackle. Cleats have not been pushed in this direction past that line. And then stays right on that white line throughout the whole play. Basically, he's a load to deal with in a single block situation or double teams. Like I said, this is on the second possession. Penalty on the Titans basically ruins it for them. Seattle, even though we recognize that they could have played better, they did in the first half hold the Titans to field goal and then punt, and then turnover on downs. This is the third possession, another punt. I think that Mike McDonald and Aiden Durday were really pissed off on this possession. I'm going to do a standalone video on this one. It's only 3 plays. It leads to the punt that Shaheed returns to like the 35. In any case, Seattle's up 10-3 at this point, and you're going to get this really cool delayed blitz by Witherspoon. It looks crazy to us, right? Regular people just watching. This is totally synced up extremely well for Seattle. I will talk about Leonard Williams from the other side in a moment because I'll give the end zone angle. He's located up here. But you got Witherspoon blitzing, Safety dropping down to trips. And what I mean when I say trips is there's 3, 2, 1 receivers to the bottom side of our screen. You number from outside in. That's why I did 3, 2, 1. And then the backside safety roll into center field. That looks standard if you ask me. But then what really makes this work is a Manwari pushing to the trip. So what I'm talking about is these 3 right here helping out defending what was a trips formation, even though one of the 3 receivers, the number 3, didn't actually release. There's just no way to me this is not a hold on against Witherspoon. He's on a blitz. It looks like an obvious hold to me. You're more than welcome to let me know if I'm misinterpreting it or becoming too much of a homer for Seahawks film. But to me, that looks like a hold. We'll see it from the end zone angle so you guys can check it out. Williams' blitz is ineffective. He's basically trying to take the right tackle and drive him back. I think all he's trying to do is set the pocket further back such that Ward can't bow out and escape in that direction. I think this is a design stunt. I'm not saying Leonard Williams is trying to lose here. In my opinion, he's not part of the design element to get a win or get a sack. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. He's going to try to drive Latham back square. Witherspoon is blitzing through the B gap, running back steps up. That looks like a hold to me, unless the refs think he's playing it off, and perhaps he is. He really didn't act too pissed off after the play, but I think Witherspoon and so many guys on this defense, they're just happy when someone gets a sack, and so even if they are held on the play, I think they have the type of mentality, while they're hungry to have an impact on defense, they're just happy to get another 3 and out. Fourth possession, an opportunity for us and myself to kind of illustrate and talk about the variations that Tennessee offered in their short yardage attack. 4th and 1, late in the second quarter, and this is, of course, going to be a stop for Seattle. I think you might see more of this because there's some real elegant design here, in my opinion. This is what Seattle's been doing all year in short yardage stuff. 4 interior linemen, oftentimes DeMarcus Lawrence is kicked down, and a Manwari could be one of these guys if the nickel group is on the field. In any case, it's a tight power concept. So because oftentimes these 4 eyes, whether it's Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, or whoever, because they're swimming to the outside, those lines are not drawn exactly on the path that they would take. When you run power on the backside, you expect that the backside defensive, when you pull the backside guard on power, you expect that the backside defensive tackle is not going to be able to do anything. He's not going to be able to impact that play. Why? He's swimming away from it. So that, to me, just, again, you have to tip your cap a little bit to Tennessee. Now, having said that, Seattle still stops it, number one. It's a tight power. So instead of kicking the stand-up defensive end, outside linebacker, they're just base blocking him with a tight end / eligible offensive lineman and then kicking the next man down. Why? Because he's swimming. So Mike McDonald and his group, in my opinion, have got a great look here on short yardage / goal line situations. It's been effective. I think it will continue to be effective. Maybe they need not a new plan here at all, in no way, shape, or form, because this has been so successful. I expect to see it copied. I would offer that maybe they need a 1A and 1B option. Let's talk about Leonard Williams for a moment and how athletic you have to be at 6'5", 315, 320, whatever he is, to jump over the top of this cut by the left tackle. Maybe the left tackle stance kind of gave it away briefly, being that he's angled down on a 4th and 1. I just think Williams is that athletic and has recognition that is absolutely elite. I think it's Peely and Thomas who make the tackle on the play. Same play from the all-22 angle. So instead of kicking the edge defender, which they did the first iteration I showed you on the first possession on power, they tighten it up. So the right tackle / tight end, is going to base block out on Hall, and they run just a tight version of power. Basically, they know he's going to swim. So he's already widening himself up. This is the look that Seattle has given in these goal line situations the whole year. 2 stand-up ends, 4 down on the interior. Sometimes you had a safety here in Okada. Instead of 2 inside linebackers, 1 middle of the field free safety. Manwari happens to be down here as basically he's functionally playing outside corner on this particular look. Left guard pulling, and Leonard Williams doesn't make this play, but how athletic you have to be to avoid that cut, jump over the top, sprawl, and then he actually does get back involved trying to help pull the running back and deny him the opportunity to get the first down. Seattle took a 16-3 lead on the next possession late in the second quarter. Moving to the third quarter here, this is after Seattle opened the second half with the bomb to JSN on the first play. Leonard Williams spot shadowed on the right, and this is a long way to go for him to get this sack. So I think there may be a slight mistake here between this trio, and I can't prove it, obviously, and if anyone knows better than me, feel free to let me know. So Williams appears to me to be stunting back across late. It looks to me like Amanwari is trying to pick the guard. Looks to me like Amanwari is trying to pick that guard and then let Williams possibly run through either the A-gap or fold all the way around. Now, that actually is what ends up happening. He folds all the way across. He's got great awareness during the middle of the play, number one, and for a huge guy, he's actually got great burst. You'll see it on the last play that I'll show you here. This is his 6th sack on the season. I do not know if it's inspired celebration by the Ultimate Warrior, but it sure looks like it to me. Looks like the exact thing the Warrior would do when he would enter the ring in the WWF. Of course, that means I'm dating myself in terms of how old I am. If you know more about the celebration than I do, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. Same play from the All-22 angle. Again, he's spot shadowed in yellow, lined up to the field. And the stunt path that he's going to take is going to take him basically all the way across the defensive formation. Thomas and Amanwari are blitzing. I will tell you this, that the season is more than half over. I'm already looking forward to the offseason to just kind of categorize as many things as possible and see the totality of what Seattle was able to have installed and run efficiently throughout the course of the year. So you got trips down here to the bottom side. Seattle handles it flawlessly from a coverage standpoint. I think this is Witherspoon. He's got a high-low concept to deal with, this shallow out and then this kind of comeback. So he just gets depth once he recognizes, the out concept. And then Woolen also gets depth to go with the vertical. In addition, you've got, I think that's an inside linebacker, perhaps a safety, who is matching the deeper curl route. I like to sometimes, when we would scout teams, look at their coverage like this, like literally go back and forth, scrub to see the movement of the players. Do that 4, 5, 6 times, 6 plays in a row, and you really get a great idea of a guy's pass drop path generally, or the consistency of it. In any case, I know you guys didn't sign up for me to talk about my own coaching stuff in the way that I would watch film when scouting someone. You showed up for a Leonard Williams film. I've been waiting to do one of these for probably 2 or 3 weeks. And I wanted to do a compilation video, basically, of his whole season. I didn't think I needed to, because watching the film, I was like, all right, he played, a devastating football game once again, even though he only ended up with 1 sack. Here's an illustration of what I mean, these last 2 plays. This is, it's tightened up to 30-17 here. I think we're 6 minutes, maybe 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It's a 3rd and 1. Leonard Williams has typically been one of these 4 eyes in these goal line looks. But because of the personnel that they have on the field, I think Tennessee subbed really quickly here, but I could be wrong. Because of the personnel that they have on the field, he's now on as one of the defensive tackles. It's a brilliant swim move here, and it's against the guard this time. They are kicking out the edge defender, the actual edge defender, the same way they did on the first iteration that I showed you, and then pulling the backside guard, Kevin Zeitler. What I mean is this fullback / tight end is kicking the edge defender in the same way as the first iteration that I displayed from the first possession for the Titans. And yes, that's Leonard Williams diving or jumping through there to make a tackle for loss. It's just got brilliant anticipation and or recognition. This block should be able to occur, given the angle that they have, number one. Number two, the reads here for some of the inside linebackers in this look, I think what makes it work so well, it almost kind of reminds me of like an old school, what some people used to call brain dead 5-3. I'll explain that a little bit here in a moment. But on the backside here, again, what I think really like about this scheme from a Titans standpoint is that they're anticipating this swim, away from the football when they run power to the offense's left. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. We'll focus on Leonard Williams. swimming over the top of 77. It's not a perfect swim because I think 77 reaches his left hand out, kind of grabs Jersey. Leonard Williams, they called a hold against an offensive lineman earlier in the game. I think there's a third one that should have been called. I don't know if this one should be called or not, but it's obvious that 77 did briefly grab him. It's a great play that just illustrates, how disruptive Leonard Williams can be on pretty much any given snap. I'll describe what I know about a brain-dead 5-3 defense, and what I mean is you would oftentimes have a 9 technique lined up outside of a tight end to both sides, so you would get the same look that we've got here. And then mirrored inside linebacker, safety, hybrid types lined up inside shade of the tight end with their heels at 5 yards. And all those guys were reading was the tackle tight end combo block. So if the tight end was to release and go upfield, they would take him man. That's the first read day one. If the tight end was to step out to the edge defender, he's now the edge defender's responsibility. You would look to fill here, presumably against the run. If the tight end was to, let's say, pull and go away, then you could match the tight end's path and become an add-on on a run concept to the other side. I think what Seattle's done here with some of these reads in these goal line situations is make it very simple for their players. And you can see Thomas gets a down block read, meaning the tight end has stepped down on Hall, the 4-eye, defensive tackle. He's essentially playing defensive tackle there. And Hall fills it immediately while Manwari plays the role of an edge defender. So everything is locked up here. And because of the swim by Leonard Williams, the running back is not going to be able to bounce it and get all the way to the outside. Seahawks did actually get a stop. The teams, I think, traded turnovers on downs in each other's side of the field in the fourth quarter. This will be the last play that I'll show you, and then I'll talk about a slight confrontation that looked like it was getting ready to occur at the end of this play. So on this drive, I believe Tennessee actually does go down to score to make it 30-24, but I could be wrong. It's a 4-man rush scheme, and like I said earlier, athletic quarterbacks are going to exploit that at times. Right, you just leave too many lanes open. It's a nice rush, if you ask me, to the top side from Derek Hall, off of our left-hand side of the screen, but the right-hand side of the defense. Leonard Williams is moving all the way across, so I'm not sure of the exact scheme here, other than it looks to me like he's trying to then bend his rush back towards the quarterback. I never know with Seattle if some of these are predetermined rushes, meaning that's the scheme, or if it's just happening on the particular play. Boye Mafe gets a little bit too far upfield maybe, and that allows Cam Ward to escape, get away from Derek Hall, and then from here on out, this reminds me of a couple of situations that I've been in, either as a competitor, an athlete, and or a coach. And what I mean is, after Leonard Williams pushes Cam Ward out of bounds, essentially a throwaway, you've got what looks like to me no one, from the all-22 angle, I probably should have shown it, no one interested in confronting Leonard Williams about it whatsoever, other than Jeffrey Simmons. And that makes sense, right? No one would want to confront Jeffrey Simmons, nor would anyone want to deal with Leonard Williams. I have no idea what occurred after this, but I know from the all-22 angle, look, it's your rookie quarterback, number 1 pick, playing well on the day, in fact, trying to get you back in the game in the fourth quarter. I think we all knew that Seattle was going to win, or had a great chance to win, but, Ward was competing. You would think that you would get a swarm of people converging on that area. No one had any inkling to say a word or step to Leonard Williams at all, except for Jeffrey Simmons. The only thing I can compare it to from a personal standpoint is for about 3 or 4 years, I got the chance to play basketball with a guy who's a little older than me, but grew up in the area I grew up in. He was like 6'8", 265, very athletic. I think he played Division II basketball, something like that. And when we would face other teams who had very large centers / power forward types, which is what he basically was, then everyone else would basically clear the lane. You would remove yourself from the situation entirely because you wanted nothing to do with the type of sounds and an immense, contact that was occurring at times when one guy was trying to post another up or a shot goes up and there's a rebound opportunity. That's kind of what the Jeffrey Simmons, Leonard Williams dynamic reminded me of there. I don't mean that neither guy wanted to get involved with the other one. What I mean is no one else on the sideline wanted to be near them in case something did pop off. At this point, Leonard Williams has 6 sacks. I got 17 quarterback hits from one website and 19 from another. I'm not sure, which is true. I know he's got 60.5 sacks in his career, 45 tackles this season in 11 games. If you guys have followed my content for a while, I thought he should have been an All-Pro in 2024. Not a late addition to the Pro Bowl like he was. To me, that was extremely insulting. So far this year, he's tied for the team lead with 6 sacks with Byron Murphy. I'd love to get a video out on Murphy, season-long type compilation type thing, out on Tuesday evening. We're going to be traveling for the holidays. At this point now, Seattle has 36 sacks. They get the Vikings next week, who have obviously had a lot of trouble, protecting their quarterback, number one, and number two, getting consistent play from those guys, even when there is quality pass pro. So it sets up for another situation for Seattle to have the advantage from a talent standpoint and a schematic edge as well. I want to see them take advantage of it. I was a little disappointed in some of the second half film. It really reminded me of a game in 2023 when Mike McDonald was our defensive coordinator. We went to Arizona, totally dominated 3+ quarters there, and we were up big. Arizona is able to get a couple of late scores, and I think actually have an onside kick to recover down 6 or maybe even 7. So incredibly ironic, the dynamic that occurred here, down in Tennessee. Of course, a different team. It's not Arizona. Same guy calling plays, Mike McDonald. Am I saying he's got a problem holding on to fourth quarter leads? No, it was just something that popped in my mind when I was watching the condensed version of the game on Sunday night, and then the All-22 when I finally got it a little bit later on Monday. The All-22 for NFL Pro was frozen or stuck or not available for a while. Didn't get a hold of it until just when the Monday night game started. That's why this one was produced so late. In any case, if you guys enjoyed it, please let me know in the comment section, because this is one that I've been waiting to put out. Leonard Williams, one of my favorite players to watch film of. I think, I said this in a Lions video that I put out earlier tonight, and if you're not interested in my thoughts on who some of the best players in the league are, feel free to stop the video now. But of the teams that I get to watch, Ravens, Lions, Seahawks, consistently every week, and continue to watch film of during the week, there's 4 guys playing at an elite level that I would say are no doubt all-pro type players right now. And that's JSN, of course. He's the best receiver in the league so far. I did a JSN video earlier today. If you guys want to check it out, feel free to do so. I'll link it up in the description. JSN, Jahmyr Gibbs, who just dropped 219 yards and 3 touchdowns on the Giants, basically saved the Detroit Lions season. Leonard Williams and Kyle Hamilton. Those are the 4 guys that, if you asked me, of the teams you're watching consistently, who's playing the best football? There's other guys that are involved there as well, don't get me wrong. But those are 4 of my favorite players to watch film of, and I'm just hoping that the Seattle Seahawks can continue to get this type of production, effort, and finish from Leonard Williams for another 2 or 3 years, because I want to see him get the recognition he deserves. In my opinion, he should have been an all-pro player last year. I'd love to see him get to 10 or 12 sacks in 2025 to finally get that recognition the way that I think he should. In any case, if you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number 1. Number 2, if you think other Seahawks fans would like to hear my thoughts on Leonard Williams' play and the Seahawks defense overall, as well as the plays that I use to illustrate those points, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.